Hello, welcome back to the Clap Podcast. As always, my name is Will Frost, and I'm here with Aaliyah Walker this week to talk about all things film and TV. As always, the Clap Podcast scratches your itch for film and TV. Aaliyah, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for coming. I know you've been pretty excited to come on. I really appreciate it.
Oh my God, anytime. No, thank you. It's literally been a lifelong dream of mine to be on a podcast. So thank you for having me. I recently went out and this guy actually at a bar told me that I had the perfect podcast voice. So
really,
this one goes actually out to him.
Yes.
I'm finally doing it.
And here you are, finally using that for a great film and TV podcast, I hope.
A great film and TV podcast.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. So what have you been up to? What's going on?
We're just, as you probably already know, and so we're doing our Swinburne documentaries. Actually has been an incredible experience. I was so lucky, first off, just with the group that I had, that we kind of like got off the bat and instantly we were like, we all had a vision. We're doing Boys Just Want to Have Funk.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool. So kind of following a bunch of boys kind of out of their element as they like do a professional, like a class with a professional dance teacher.
Yep.
Which is going to be really, really fun. And just kind of seeing how they go. So I'm so excited for it. I'm currently the DOP on the project.
Yes,
so,
how's that been?
Yeah, good, actually. I think it's, we're in pre-production at the moment, so I feel like the beauty and also the scary thing about documentary is that like, you kind of never know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
So I think that part is always a bit scary, but I'm also so excited just to kind of be there on the set and like, get to interact with the guys that are dancing and also the teacher and just kind of like, I don't know. I'm really excited and hopefully make it look pretty. That will be my job. But
it's going to be fun. I can't wait to work on it. I'm gaffing on it. So
yes.
I set up the lights you want me to set up.
Yeah, man.
So I'm super keen. Super keen.
Cool.
It's a fun concept and I think it's going to come full circle. I really do. Especially with the performance at the end. I think everyone's just going to have a great time, including the guys themselves doing it.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of it. Like, I love that it's the kind of documentary that you can have fun with, both like watching it, but also like we'll be on set. And I feel like hopefully you'll really feel that energy. And yeah, that's hopefully what the cinematography brings. I really want it to be fun and colourful, and Izzy's been such a great director. So hopefully, all together we can pull off something really exciting.
Absolutely. Well, I'm assuming with all this stuff, you haven't been able to go out and see movies, but what's the year been like for film so far? How are you feeling about it?
It's been a dry year of film for me, which is a shame because like, I need to go out and see more films. I'm trying to think of I've been watching actually a lot of Korean films.
Okay.
Which has been on Netflix. I think Netflix for some reason has an incredible range of Korean films.
It does.
The most recent film I watched was Forgotten.
Okay.
That was an interesting film to say the least. I highly recommend it. Definitely good if you like a little bit of a mind-boggling kind of concept and like it kind of loses you, but anyway, good to watch once. I also watched A24's Dream Scenario.
I've seen that.
I don't know, the reviews that I've seen, I know people had mixed reviews. I loved it.
Okay.
I thought it was so good. I thought Nicolas Cage, look, he can be a bit of a hit or miss, but I thought he was really good in this. And I think it was maybe fun isn't the right word, but I thought it was a fun movie.
It actually has a lot of fun moments in it. Like there is a bit of that creativity and that craziness of wondering where he's going to pop up next. And I did like that. I actually thought it was a very cool film. I don't know. I don't think it's stayed with me as much as I hoped it would. I thought it was, I was hoping it was going to be a film, which probably isn't fair to it, that was going to make me think when I left. And I kind of just like, it did everything I thought it was going to do.
Yeah.
But then again, I will confess, I watched it on a plane. So probably not the best place to watch it.
Bro, it's not an airplane movie.
No, I know.
Airplane movies is like Crazy Rich Asians and nothing else.
Yes. That is a good point. That is the perfect...
Why are you watching Dream Scenario?
Yeah.
But no, I completely agree. I think it was kind of did what it had to do. I think I liked that kind of like, I guess it was was it like an allegory for like, well, at least I thought it was like cancel culture and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really liked that side of it. But I think aside from that, I agree. Because I remember watching the trailer like months ago and I was like, I have to go see this.
Yeah.
because it was like the song was like Dreams by the Cranberries, and I was like, oh, I'm in. It just had me. But I do kind of wish it. I think I'd wished it had lent more into the horror aspect. Maybe that's just me as like
Me too.
I think it could have definitely lent into that creepiness more, because I think Nicolas Cage, I think the highlights for me in that film were when he was at his creepiest.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, still a good movie.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
and Nick Cage actually going full horror at the moment with Long Legs, which is doing very well. I saw that in what I will describe as the worst cinema experience I've had. Yeah.
Please elaborate. In what way?
So I was sitting in a cinema and there were this huge group, like having a birthday party or something, huge group, teenagers. And so they were being really loud and stuff before the film. And instantly I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be the right film to have people laughing.
Yeah, yapping.
Yapping.
Yeah.
But what happened was someone came in late and sat on the armchair of someone else's seat in front of me. Yeah. So instantly I'm kind of annoyed, and I think they started to get it because like they kind of go like that. And
I mean,
like,
fair, how the hell were they even let into the cinema?
well, because like people just like run in now and stuff. And I don't know, maybe they had a seat or a ticket and just decided to sit with their mate on the armchair. And then what happened was they thought it was the funniest film ever made. Like, they were laughing, and at one point someone in the back yelled, "It's not that funny." And then they were like, "Yeah, it is," and like stood up and started, and it was just like, you couldn't, the whole thing about that film is the atmosphere and the tension and the drama of that, and it just was like you weren't, I was just worried about what the next person was going to do.
Yeah.
Was I going to be able to see what happened next? I don't know. It just wasn't a good experience. So that film deserves a rewatch, in my opinion. Especially when I thought Cage was excellent from what I saw of it.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Damn, I'm so sorry about that. I haven't seen it yet. That's on my bucket list of films is just growing by the day. But that is at the top of the list. So
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. Like, bad like cinema etiquette. Not to be that pretentious person, but get out. It annoys me.
I've become bad.
Yeah.
Like, I used to be sort of,
Oh, I'm such an unk about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, just sit down.
I'm like, yeah. My thing is now phones. I remember the first time I realized I turned a page was when I saw Killers of the Flower Moon, and these two teenagers in front of me clearly did not understand what the film they were going into. They didn't know it was a 3-hour Martin Scorsese
epic
film.
Yeah,
and they were like on their phones on TikTok. And I have never been that guy before, but I literally like went over and like, guys, can you, like, the light is so bright, can you please just not? And then they ended up putting it away, but I left it for way too long, in my opinion. I was going to say, though, because I feel like we seem to be like cinema snobs, like, it has to be in the best way, whatnot, especially me. Don't you hate it when you like turn, like, and watch what people are watching on the plane? Because I feel like everyone does that.
100%.
Because when you mentioned Crazy Rich Asians, I thought of this. And every time I go on a plane now, it's always June 2 is like the featured title.
Yeah.
You can't watch June 2 on a
like
plane.
A small, like...
And you know when you're walking to the bathroom, you look and everyone's watching it. I'm like, no,
You're like, no.
Not June 2. Anything else.
Though I do have an embarrassing confession. I watched the first June. I think I didn't watch it in the cinemas. I watched it on like a small laptop.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It's really embarrassing because I was sick and I was like, oh, there's nothing else. And I was like, oh, I didn't get to see June. So I watched it on my laptop and like my service. I was on an Airbnb and my service was really, really bad.
Right.
So I had to rewatch it. But
yeah, fair enough.
And I still haven't seen June 2.
Oh,
I'm
what?
lacking.
No.
That's embarrassing to admit.
You got to. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I heard Oscar Isaac wasn't in it, and I was just like,
oh yeah.
I was like, I'm out.
They lost money from that with people not going because Oscar Isaac wasn't in it.
It looks so incredible. So.
It's a really amazing film. Yeah. I keep seeing that meme and that TikTok that goes around of a guy watching Oppenheimer on his Apple Watch. Have you seen that one? It's like, I'm like, oh no, everyone please. I
actually have the funny story of going to see Oppenheimer though, and like, you know the memes about people like being in the front row?
Yeah.
I was one of those people.
No way.
So my friend and I, we were determined to do, as everyone, do the whole like Barbenheimer thing.
Yep.
But we left it to the last minute, and so that the only tickets were like at the like really close to the front, kind of like off to the left.
Right.
And it's so entertaining. Like, it was just Cillian Murphy, and he was like all chin. Like, it was like no regrets.
Yeah.
Man's got a beautiful chin.
Yeah.
Like, you know, worth every penny.
Yep.
That's so funny. The Apple Watch is next level. Crazy.
Yeah. That's
I respect that.
Yeah. So yeah, Oppenheimer. So you did Barbenheimer. So you did Oppenheimer and Barbie on the same day, because I did as well. I did the different cinemas. I actually traveled. So I went IMAX for Oppenheimer, then came back home, had lunch, then went to Barbie in the evening.
Oh man, nah, we were built different. We went to see at Lido, so nearby, which is actually really great.
Nice.
So what did we? I'm pretty sure we saw Oppenheimer first. So we saw it in the morning. So we all got coffees.
Nice.
Actually, we did bottomless brunch. That's the key.
Nice.
We did bottomless brunch.
Wow. Okay.
Went to see Oppenheimer.
That's mad.
Yeah, and then got lunch, and then saw Barbie, and then had like drinks. So we did like the full.
That's a great day.
It was an incredible day.
Take me
I have
back.
to say, yeah, I
Seriously,
know. Why do I have all this nostalgia?
Oh, I know. And it wasn't even that long ago.
It was. I'm like, wow. I'm so wistful, and it was like a year ago.
I don't know about you. I remember for the first time I got really into like the awards period, because I was like, is it Cillian Murphy? Is it gonna be Paul Giamatti? Is Margot Robbie gonna be nominated for Best Actress? Like, and all this stuff, and everyone was in such a hype about it because you never had two huge commercial successes that had so much awards kind of hype about them, which I thought was an interesting development in the awards campaign, where normally they're sort of the smaller, big dramatic characters in them, but you're not going to have like Mission Impossible being nominated for Best Actor, you know what I mean? It's just genre films like that don't make it into that. But it was interesting having Barbie and Oppenheimer, these two huge, both over $1 billion at the box office, getting award type. So I just remember that period, and that's where I got really into the podcast.
Fair enough. And I think it was such a beautiful, I don't think I watched as much cinema as I did last year. I don't know why. I don't know what if it somebody was in the air, but I thought that it was so, and I think that was the most interested I'd been in an award season.
Yeah.
In so long. I feel like for a while there it was kind of getting a bit it was not predictable, but maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was so hooked. I loved that that little patch of time. An underrated film actually that came out, I'm pretty sure on the same day as Barbenheimer, which is a bit rough, was I don't know if you've ever watched They Cloned Tyrone.
No.
Highly recommend.
No,
I tell this to everyone. It was a film. It's got Jamie Foxx. What is his name? I'm blanking. Star Wars. The new
John Boyega. Yeah.
John Boyega stars in it, and so amazing.
Yeah.
Just a bit of fun, again, kind of a mind trippy one. Anyway,
really?
That's another recommendation.
Well, actually, funnily enough, I'm going to jump to something I mentioned to you before we started with Rebel Ridge. The film is led by Aaron Pierre.
Yeah.
And it was originally going to be acted with John Boyega, but he had to leave the production, and Aaron Pierre kills it in this film. So I don't know if that entices you in any other way, but Rebel Ridge is a terrific film on Netflix that goes into some really interesting themes about the US justice system and also police corruption over there and things like that.
I could talk for ages about that topic.
Yeah. So this film is terrific in that way, with incredible performances by Aaron Pierre and Don Johnson. I just recommend that
Don
film.
Johnson.
Absolutely. If you haven't had a chance, on Netflix, Rebel Ridge, one of the best. Seriously, go check it out.
Okay,
I have to put that one out there.
That's on the list. But yeah, anything John Boyega does, yeah. But I'm sure that, I still need to check this out. But I love John Boyega.
John Boyega is brilliant.
I think he's an underrated, underused actor, maybe, potentially, in Hollywood. I think this man needs to get hired more.
He needs that one iconic dramatic role. You know what I mean? You know how sort of Cillian Murphy had the Oppenheimer, and you need that that thing where it's his face on the poster.
I agree.
He takes over a character and leads a film, because I think the Star Wars franchise did him a little bit dirty, majorly.
I'm still annoyed by that, because I think it should have been him. I was rooting for him to be. He had such natural energy and charisma.
Yes.
And I just to have him as the face of Star Wars would have been incredible. I know that why am I blanking on names today? Daisy Ridley?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean she's great, but yeah, John Boyega. I think because that was obviously the first thing I ever really saw him in that was big.
I agree. Yeah.
And since then I'm give this man a starring role.
I agree.
I think he would just. I think he'd be so good.
He'd do so well with it.
And I always forget he's British. One for the Brits. Let's
exactly.
go.
One for the Brits. I agree.
He's so talented.
Yes, he's amazing. So why don't we jump in some of the latest news of the week?
Yep.
Some of this is a little older now, but there's some big ones that have come out over the weekend and things like that. So we had a trailer release for Mickey 17, the new film directed by Bong Joon-ho, who is, of course, mega famous from the award-winning film Parasite. This film is based on the Edward Ashton novel Mickey 7, and it's a sort of a sci-fi comedy which Bong Joon-ho himself wrote with Robert Pattinson, Mark Ruffalo, Stephen Yeun, Naomi Aki, and Toni Collette. What did you think about the trailer? I thought it was not at all what I expected.
Not at all what I expected. I think one of the things that right off the bat that I noticed was I love Bong Joon-ho's ability to take comedy, but still make you feel deeply uncomfortable about something.
Sure.
Because the whole trailer, I was like, this looks like fun. But then I was like, there is something under the surface there that I know that he's going to, like, bring out. And so, like, I think, the trailer definitely wasn't what I was expecting. I think based on all the kind of, like, teaser photos that I'd seen, I expected it to be a lot more of, like, a serious, like, kind of, like, dramatic, kind of your classic, like, space kind of drama and thriller.
Yep.
But the trailer definitely made it seem more leaning towards comedy. But I'm actually so excited for that. I think, like, black comedies is, like, where potentially he shines. Like, that kind of, like, looking at Parasite. Like, you're laughing, but you're also kind of laughing uncomfortably because you know that something is a bit unsettling.
Definitely.
And I think, he's so good at bringing that out.
I agree. It surprised me with where it went. I because I didn't hear that much about the novel. I didn't really know what it was based on, but even when I was looking at who was in it, you know, obviously Robert Pattinson was the big one. But just when you hear his accent and his voice come in,
I know.
You're just like, oh my gosh, this is such a unique performance for him, especially coming off The Batman, and some more interesting roles like The Lighthouse and films like that, where he's kind of divulged into these, you know, sort of art house indie films, but then, you know, now he's playing Batman. To then this sort of weird satirical black comedy space opera. Like, this is...
That man has range.
He does have range.
I watched The Boy and the Heron last year, the Studio Ghibli film, and I was shocked that like he voices the bird, the heron in that. Like, I was like, what can't this man do? That was insane. So when I heard his voice in this trailer, I was like, you know what, actually, it's just another day at the office, this man.
100%.
I kind of love that.
Yeah. Well, the film has gone through kind of an interesting release in that it was literally slated for March 2024. That was when it was going to come out. And now it's January 2025. And there were some delays that it had with the 2023 strikes and things like that. But there were a lot of rumors going around that the studio wasn't quite sure how to approach it, what they were going to do with it. But it seems like now they figured it out. Bong Joon-ho's solidified it into hopefully his next masterpiece. And we're going to be getting it in January 2025.
Well, I will be there. That's super exciting.
I will be there too. I think it's an interesting time for it because I find a lot of... Got to work out how to say this without sounding really mean. Sometimes you're not going to put some of the big films that are a lot of awards films and stuff come out later in the year because close to the awards time and stuff. So a January release is interesting because it's the big films come out around December. They sort of have a lull until March?
Yeah.
You know, late Feb, March?
Then they start to pick up a little bit,
And so it's interesting that this was going to have a March release, which is, I think, roughly when June 2 came out. So you can see it's sort of where the year starts to build. And this is kind of getting a January release, which I find interesting, but maybe it'll be that surprise big January release that we'll get. I think this is going to be a very important one because it clearly has this sort of big budget, very commercial appeal. You know, the Parasite was incredibly popular, but it wasn't really advertised to the masses, and it kind of grew that cultural appeal. This is a film that feels like it's going to be one that, you know, everyone's going to talk about.
Yeah,
so
I mean, look at the cast. Like, exactly. It's so, like, you know what I mean? With a cast like that.
Absolutely.
It does seem like his most, like, I guess, westernly commercial film to date. So it would be interesting to see how that goes. In terms of like how audiences respond to his style now that he's kind of been more integrated, I guess, into like... But I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. So we've got that one coming out in January. In a very interesting piece of news that I haven't heard many people talk about, but I think it's because it's in such an early phase of its sort of release. It has been reported that Steven Spielberg and Judd Apatow are in early development on a Coke vs. Pepsi film with Sony Pictures. A film which focuses on the story of Pepsi attempting to take over the domination of Coca-Cola set between the 70s and the 80s. So this comes as brand business films are becoming pretty popular in Hollywood. We had Blackberry.
Yeah, I was literally about to say Blackberry. I watched that. I don't know. I think maybe it's just a me thing. I am not a fan of them.
Okay.
I struggle with those kind of like entrepreneurial, like I think unless you take it and you like give me a story that like I haven't seen.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes those stories, like The Social Network for me is probably like my only exception to that.
Yeah,
that I'm
that's
like,
a great film.
That film is so, but I'm so yeah, it could be.
I'm a sucker for them. I really am.
You love them?
Yeah,
Oh.
I really love them. Like, I really enjoyed Air. I really enjoyed Blackberry. But I find Blackberry interesting because that's a story of a business rising and then completely falling.
Yeah.
So I find that interesting where you, like, films like The Founder and stuff, you kind of know where it's going to go. It's an
True.
entrepreneur takes, you know.
I mean, look around. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like
There's a McDonald's on every block.
Yeah.
But I find that I quite enjoyed Blackberry for being a story that, because, you know, as soon as I told my dad I was going to go see it, and that was actually the first film I ever saw by myself in the theatre. Oh, really? So I took myself one night because I was so curious about this sort of film. Last 9 p.m. showing by myself, like 2 other people in there.
Yeah.
And I was just pretty blown away by how fascinating the story was from someone who knew nothing. And, you know, I came home and I'm like, I saw Blackberry. And my dad's like, oh, I had one of those, and started telling me
Didn't
about...
all our dads have one of those?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm like, that guy's like, nah, you know, I've always, you know, always had an iPhone from when I've had a phone, you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that I kind of lean towards the more unique, interesting, like business films. And so I would be curious about this because I feel like the Coke versus Pepsi thing has been something that's really public.
Yeah.
You've had the mass advertising campaigns. Do you remember when they used to do the kind of advertising marketing fights and all that?
For lack of a better word, bratty.
Yeah.
Like, real bratty.
Yep. And the loyalties with celebrities that would appear and all the...
Is the Kendall Jenner.
Yeah.
Oh. What a time to be alive. Isn't it a blessing that we were alive during the Kendall Jenner Pepsi campaign?
I know. It's just...
It's so funny.
Do you know what? Do you ever just sometimes go at home and just watch it? And I'm like, oh my God.
It's actually entertaining.
It's so funny.
Have you seen like The Boys on Amazon? They did like a parody of it.
They did.
Iconic.
Yes.
Iconic.
And do you know what's funny? My mum didn't get it. And I was sitting with her and I'm like, oh my God, I have to pause. I'm showing you this trailer. Or this ad. And it was, that was brilliant.
They nailed it.
Boys. They nailed it.
So yeah, I am interested to see, because I think on paper it looks something... Okay, maybe I am biased because of my slight dislike usually of these kind of like entrepreneurial films.
Sure.
But I'm actually intrigued by this because I feel like it could go either way. It could become like a really... Yeah, because I actually, other than like all the, you know, the bratty public stuff, a lot of that kind of like private, I'll be interested to see that kind of competition and how they like create that excitement.
I agree. So in other incredibly tragic news, we had James Earl Jones passing away. So he's, you know, incredibly well known. He was known for his voice work on Darth Vader and Mufasa, just to name a few of the big roles that people know him for. But he had really terrific roles in films like Coming to America, The Sandlot, Field of Dreams, and Conan the Barbarian. So it's really sad that he's passed away. What do you think?
Yeah, oh my gosh. I've literally called my mum because she and I remember Coming to America, which... Look, probably for a young kid is not the most appropriate movie to watch, but I know he had such incredible strides, I think, especially for like the Black community, you know, pushing that boundary. He got rejected from so many different shows and he, you know, got so much prejudice for being like a young Black man trying to become an actor in the industry in the the 60s and 70s as well. And yeah, I mean, what can you say? The man is a legend.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a powerful... I mean, I think it's such a node to the legacy that he left, the impact and the profound impact that it has on people, both just like movie watchers of all backgrounds, but also I think especially like, you know, up and coming like Black actors or directors that like, you know, saw his like struggle and became literally one of the most iconic voices and faces of Hollywood. Yep. Like that was such a rare thing for people that look like him, and so... Yeah, it's obviously tragic, but also I you know, you want to celebrate that, and I think it's really beautiful that his legacy, he has that legacy that people can celebrate now, and it becomes a, you know, joyful thing just as much as a really tragic thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. It's one of those things where, he's known for his work. My real relationship with him was from Darth Vader. Like, this, I was a massive Star Wars guy when I was a kid, and Darth Vader was the scariest villain to me, you know what I mean?
Course.
Terrifying. And the interesting thing, since I've kind of gone back and looked at James Earl Jones's work and the kind of person that he was, is he voiced someone that was, this horrifying villain to me, but he's like such a warm soul. And he's been, he's been funny in films. He's been incredibly intense as well. He's just got such range. And I find it so amazing that, he's so loved by people. And his, booming, iconic voice that we all now remember is so like ingrained in our memories that I don't know if you ever heard the story, but he told a story about how he was in a truck driving down the highway, and he had one of those the truck communicator, when you can talk to other truck
like the
drivers in the area.
walkie-talkies. Yeah.
And he started doing like Darth Vader lines, and I heard this on like a podcast or a interview, and he started like doing the Darth Vader voice, and they pulled up to a bus, like a petrol station, and all the truck drivers were standing around talking to each other going, did you hear the voice of Darth Vader on the...
This is gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I'd like, what? Darth Vader is somewhere in the area because they're all connected like within a small range. And that just from his voice, everyone thought like he's around. Just how amazing that is that someone has that much power in not only his voice, but his incredible acting as well. And just such a tragedy, such a warm soul. And I'll definitely be putting on Star Wars again to remember him in the future.
For me, Lion King. Faster. That film will never not make me cry.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely due for the Lion King rewatch, and
Absolutely. I also think something that I saw him in when I didn't expect to see him recently was when I was rewatching The Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
And he has that episode with Sheldon.
I know the exact one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just how funny that episode is, and that
is.
moment where he goes, like, he's like, I'm a Star Wars fan too. And just, I remember watching that going, oh, of course he is. Yeah, that's my guy. I just, what an incredible soul. So sad he's passed away, but we'll definitely remember his incredible work
100%.
in cinema.
Yeah.
Moving on, sort of a very different news story, but we have a new Oceans film reportedly in the works.
Okay.
Yep. So continuing on the Hollywood era of legacy sequels, we are getting a new Oceans film, which is reportedly going to have George Clooney and Brad Pitt playing their original roles. It has been reported that the pair are looking at director Edward Berger, and I probably said his name wrong, but he previously did All Quiet on the Western Front. I don't know if you saw that. It was a big Netflix film, and I really thought it was quite impressive.
It was great, yeah.
So they're looking at that person to direct, and obviously we've had 3 Oceans films previously directed by Steven Soderbergh, and then we had the Ocean's 8 spin-off as well. Yep. So this is a franchise that's still been kind of trying to figure out where it's going to go, but it looks like they're trying to bring the original cast back, and I'm assuming some new faces to take the Oceans franchise in the future. What do you think?
You know what? Look, is it a Hollywood money grab? Maybe, but will I be so keen to watch it? Yes, I will.
Yeah,
actually, that's another great airplane movies. The Oceans movies.
That's a great point.
Beautiful, airplane movies.
They are.
Suddenly, I'm flying to a new destination. I'm seeing them put off all these crazy heists. I'm like, I could do. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree.
I don't care how many they make. I will keep watching them because they are genuinely so entertaining. They are. I love watching people. Maybe I don't know what that says about me. I love watching people pull off kind of dodgy things and getting away with it. I mean, come on. Yeah,
they're really great films, and it's just it works because of the such different personalities and how they interact. And is it a little bit sort of cliche now? We have like the tech guy and all that, but
in English, please. I need someone to say that at least once, and I'm like, I'm in.
Absolutely. And so I will be there to watch this, but it probably doesn't excite me as much as I think a lot of people who have nostalgia for those films, even though they're not that old. I've always found them entertaining films that I never was like, I need to see more from these people. I just kind of found them entertaining films. So I'm curious about it, but it's not one that jumps out at me as something that's going to be essential viewing. But we'll have to see what happens, because no doubt it's going to get the publicity campaign of the ages with such big stars probably returning. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, again, I think it will be entertaining. I've only recently got into the Oceans films, so like they were never like a part of my like growing up, but yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. Who knows? Again, definitely. I'll watch it on an airplane.
Yeah.
Like we'll see. When it comes on the airplane, I'll go see it.
We'll see what it's like.
Yeah.
It's kind of a random piece of news, but I found it really interesting, and I thought it could prompt good discussion about sort of cinemas. But for local listeners, the Regent Cinema in Ballarat. Sorry.
You're good.
For local listeners, the Regent Cinema in Ballarat will reopen after an acquisition by Palace Cinemas. So this was quite a famous old cinema that was kind of the biggest one in regional Victoria. And it had to shut down, obviously. The cinema industry has not been quite what it was since COVID, and the strikes happen, and something that's in regional Victoria just isn't going to pull the numbers that something in the CBD will. But this cinema is now being restored by Palace Cinemas, and it's going to open on October 3rd, so not that far away. Okay. But it is going to be labelled the Palace Regent Ballarat. But it's great that we're getting new investment into for the people of Ballarat and regional Victoria, an iconic movie location. I don't know if you've seen any photos of it, but it's really old school.
Okay.
And it's kind of, it's got that old school atmosphere and vibe about it.
Love old school cinemas. Yeah.
I think Palace will keep that element of it whilst also modernising the projectors and that kind of thing. And it's just great that we are still seeing, even in regions where, it may not pull the numbers that another cinema in the CBD would, they are still focusing on that and giving people the opportunity to see film festival favourites and, new theatrical releases. And I just thought it was really great that we are seeing something that was, it was independent owned, and it was being forced to shut down, unfortunately. And something can come and pick it up and kind of restore it for the audience out there.
Awesome.
So I'm just really happy about that. And I think that's great that we are still seeing a lot of investment into new cinemas and providing that experience for people.
Awesome.
Because as we've said, sometimes watching Oppenheimer on your watch is not the best way of doing it.
Don't do it.
Yep. Watch it here instead.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing.
I thought we could just touch on the box office and kind of the latest films out before we get into our very exciting topic of the week. Yeah. But currently Beetlejuice is holding strong at the box office. It's earned over 271 million at the box office worldwide, off a budget of around 100 million. And I don't know if you heard about any of the behind the scenes of this film, but Warner Bros. Actually cut the budget from 150 million to 100 million. And this was in order to reduce the chance of the film bombing. Yeah. Because these legacy sequels are a big risk.
A bit of a risk, yeah.
You've got Top Gun Maverick that's, that rose higher than I think anyone expected it to. Yeah. Sky was not the limit, as they say.
Oh, you're proud of that one.
I tried.
Guys, please laugh. Yeah, if you're listening, please laugh at that.
Thank you. But then you've also got some more recent films that just haven't really pulled in those numbers. Especially for the amount of investment that goes into them. But it has paid off for them with 271 million worldwide off, I think it's only been out for 2 or 3 weeks. It's pretty good numbers. In addition to that, we also have Speak No Evil, which sits at 23 million worldwide from a predicted budget of around 15 million. So another big success for Universal and Blumhouse, especially as it hasn't yet released in France, Germany or Japan. Wow. So it's still got some markets to get into, but for a smaller horror film, from Blumhouse, we saw Imaginary come out for them earlier in the year that I don't think quite did as well as they thought it would. It's great that this film, which I think is really great, is doing as well as it is. Yeah. So just some box office news for you that it's going strong at the moment. People are actually interested in, on one hand, you've got sort of a family, Tim Burton, with, some horror vibes, but then you've also got a dark horror that's doing really well as well. Yeah. So people are still going and are pushing it big time.
No, I'm glad that that's like box office sales kind of coming back now, after COVID. And I mean, Beetlejuice and Speak No Evil were such different films, but I guess they're targeting kind of similar but different. Like you've got that kind of nostalgic, audience for Beetlejuice, and then also new people that are coming to that. Yep. And then Speak No Evil, I mean, it's James McAvoy. Do you know what I mean? Like people will always come back to watch him do his thing in a horror movie and be his amazing, like transformative self.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Well, they're both, again, haven't seen both of those films.
Yep.
So I need to go check that out.
No, definitely. Well, I can give you some thoughts on because I've seen both actually, which is cool. So I'll start off with Beetlejuice, which is obviously the new sequel from director Tim Burton of the original film Beetlejuice. In this film, we see the Dietz family return to Winter River, still haunted by Beetlejuice. Lydia's family is turned upside down when her teenage daughter, Astrid, accidentally opens a portal to the afterlife. So that's kind of the big premise of the film. And that's Winona Ryder's character's daughter. Have you seen the original Beetlejuice?
I have.
You have?
I have.
So where do you sit on it?
I mean, it's not my favorite Tim Burton, but also it does have special moments. I think it was a big tradition. My mum loves the film, and so it was a big tradition to kind of like watch it at Halloween.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have to say though, I think it's still one of the most iconic scenes in cinema is the dinner table scene where they stand up Mr. Tally. Oh, yeah. Iconic with I can't remember the actress's name. She's in this though as well that stars in Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah. Like incredible scene. So like moments like that, and obviously the classic, you're a kid and you watch it and it gives you nightmares and stuff. So in that sense, nostalgia, but I haven't actually had a chance to rewatch it since I was really little. So I think for me the sequel might not have as much of that like deep, like I need to go see it.
Absolutely. I actually watched Beetlejuice for the first time the day I saw Beetlejuice.
Really?
I know. It was not, I'll be honest, if there's one unpopular opinion I have amongst friends and everything, is that I haven't loved a Tim Burton film, I think, ever.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know what it is. I don't find the humor and I don't find the tone and atmosphere. I just don't connect with it. When it's a weird cinema experience when I go because I'm not having a bad time. But I just don't, everyone else is laughing and rockers about it. Like, oh, have you seen this? Have you seen Wednesday yet? Oh. And what's bad is people say to me, what's the last Tim Burton thing that you saw that you thought, oh, that's actually not bad? It was Wednesday, which I heard is not what people say is the best of Tim Burton.
No, yeah.
Edward Scissorhands I watched when I was in school and I didn't love it. I know. And
damn, we all say in unison.
Why. I know.
That's crazy.
I know. I'm going to lose so many listeners
Guys,
from saying this.
Lock off now.
And I kind of found that watching Beetlejuice. I just, even like when I watched the first one the other time, I loved in moments. And that's exactly one that stood out was the scene of them at the dinner table. And I did quite enjoy the ending when Winona Ryder's floating by the staircase and the football team come, the ghosts come. I enjoyed that. I have to admit, for the sequel, as someone who, hasn't necessarily loved every bit of Tim Burton work, I thought the sequel I enjoyed more. Yeah. And that's probably coming from it's modernized, saw it in a theater with a group of people who everyone was enjoying it. And I think it is probably a little bit more mainstream than the first one. It has a lot of weirdness, but it was nothing that wasn't there in the first. But the one thing I'll say about the film is despite the fun moments, and there were some great moments in it, it was really unfocused and a little messy in that there were too many plot lines going on. There was actually one plot line with Monica Bellucci that she had a really great entrance, actually, which involves Danny DeVito and some other stuff. It's quite interesting. But she has a really fun entrance moment, needle drop music, and she kind of has this great character moment, but I ultimately found she had nothing to offer as the film went on. It was this plot line that came and then just disappeared for a bit and then came back at the end.
Yeah, I don't know what's like. I feel like it's a problem that I found with a lot of movies and shows recently. I think people tend to take a concept, they especially love to do it in a sequel, and I don't know what it is about it. They love to take a plot and then kind of add a bunch of like these, because they're like, okay, well, we need a draw card for the younger audience, so let's bring in Jenna Ortega, and then we've got the classics like Catherine O'Hara and Winona Ryder, and then like they've got a bunch of like, I think they're almost trying to please everyone. Yeah. And I think it's like the difference between that and like, like you said, Top Gun Maverick, I think the difference is that wasn't trying necessarily to please, like, you know what I mean? The story was very simple. It was like, you know what I mean?
I agree.
And I think maybe that's why it did so well, because it chose a plot that could connect with the people no matter the audience, and it stuck to it, and it was simple and it was well told.
Yep.
Whereas like, yeah, if you have a film like that and you're trying to have all these moving parts together, I mean, I haven't seen it, but I could imagine how it would feel a little bit, you know.
And it's exactly right, where I think it's, if you were a big fan of Beetlejuice and that story and that concept as a whole, you'd be really into this because you get more of all of those things. And the one thing I will say is you do get more of Beetlejuice in this one because he's not, I think, 20 minutes of screen time in the first.
Barely in the first one, yeah.
Barely. And that's a short film too. I believe it's like 92 minutes.
Yeah.
This one, Michael King gets more of a chance to shine as Beetlejuice, and you know he comes straight back into the role like he was doing it yesterday, and that comes from Michael King being an incredible actor. I will say I thought Jenna Ortega was a surprise in this film. I thought the scenes with her really worked, and that there was an intriguing plot line with her and how she gets involved in the plot, but still kind of felt underutilized for how important she was. But I will say that great performance and great chemistry with Winona Ryder and that mother-daughter relationship, which is always kind of wacky and quirky in a Tim Burton film.
Yeah.
But I found that bit really did work. There was some great little laughs and moments with that. So ultimately, I'm saying if you're a Beetlejuice fan, you'll go into this like,
Okay.
But I think for me, it didn't offer anything new, and it didn't bring me back into my love for Tim Burton. I really thought I kind of came out of it again where I went, that was fun and wacky and unique and well directed, but the stories just don't connect with me. Yeah. And I find that I think a lot of people love Tim Burton's films for the sort of plasticky, glossy feeling of the sets and the environments, and that really has a lot of appeal to people. Whereas I'm watching it going, that's clearly a set. Like, I don't know. I get taken out a bit. So it's just not for me. But ultimately, I'd say if you like the first Beetlejuice, this one will only give you more of that.
Okay.
It won't exceed. It'll probably be.
It'll just,
Speaking of Weevil, on the other hand, I have to quickly say, and I'm sorry, I'm just kind of throwing these reviews at you, but I think these are the big ones out at the moment.
Yeah.
Speaking of Weevil, and I know you're a big James McAvoy fan.
I love James McAvoy. Yes.
Yep. I am too. Seriously, one of the best actors working today.
100%.
Genuinely. Always takes on interesting roles. And I think one thing I'll say, as I heard him talking about it in an interview, he always says he doesn't have to like the character to tell their story. And I think that's such an interesting perspective for an actor, where, you know, you think about it, you're like, well, if I was an actor, I'd probably want to play someone who's similar to me or that I have similar views to and whatever. Then you have James McAvoy playing these completely unique roles across the variety of films. You know, he's gone from the mainstream X-Men films to doing films like Split to now Speak No Evil and these sort of horror thriller characters who have a lot of flaws, but he somehow brings out some humanity in them. Yeah. And I find that really entertaining to watch. And that is what makes Speak No Evil, I think, one that people should put on their radar.
100%.
I should preface, and I think I kind of in a weird way give this as a criticism, it's a remake of a Danish film of the same name that came out in 2022.
Yeah, I was about to say, because it seems... Did it have the same title?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a remake.
This feels familiar.
Of a 2022 film.
Because that's still fresh in people's minds.
Yeah. And that film is mostly in English.
Interesting.
So it's an interesting film to come out. Do you know what I mean? That we're remaking a film that isn't that old and in English. You know what I mean? But saying that, this film's really good. One of the more entertaining and actual edge of your seat thrillers I've seen in a long time. Terrific performance by James McAvoy. Yeah. Terrific performance by Mackenzie Davis. And of course, you've got some great side characters and things like that as well. Terrific child actor performances, which, you know, in films can sometimes be a bit mixed, but they did a really great job. So, it was filmed in the UK.
Yes, okay. And
had 1 week of filming in Croatia. But the thing I'll say is it's very interesting because it's... I don't know, do you know anything about the story of what it is? You've seen the trailer or anything?
I've seen the trailer.
Yeah.
So, slight gist, but not... Don't know a lot.
Not completely. Well, it's sort of, I'll give just the kind of the setup, but it's basically two families go on holiday and they meet each other over this holiday, and one family invites the other to their place in the UK for a sort of extended holiday when they get back. So they're big fans of the family. And then things happen.
Yeah.
what I will say is it's very interesting because you kind of have, in the original, you have two people from different countries. I don't know if it's Danish and something else. I don't know if it's Dutch or what it is. In this film, you've got the English couple and the American couple, which begs a lot with kind of social differences in social interactions between people where, you know, the English are very like mates and, you know, grabs you on the shoulder and all that. And, you know, it's like, oh, you know, you got to come around, have a beer, you know, it's all that. And then the Americans kind of like, whoa, okay, like they're intense, but we're going to go along with it, you know, because we're polite, you know what I mean? And it's sort of this thing of the film is the whole time you're saying get out. You know, you got to get out because you know it's a horror. We as an audience are aware that you shouldn't be there. Don't go in that room. Don't go there.
Never follow a random family to rural
That's a
UK.
weird thing to do. That means something more.
Usually, yeah.
In this film, you're thinking that the whole time, but it does so well that you're like, oh, well, actually, you know, they do the polite thing. You know, you go along with these things. You're with another couple. You think, oh, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. That was a weird thing to do, but you know what? We'll go along with it.
Because probably in most situations, most people would do the same.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not going to tell someone they're crazy to their face.
True.
That was an odd thing to do. All right, we'll move on from that. Yeah. Until it builds and builds and builds.
Yeah.
And this film does so well at that. And it really has those social moments nailed.
Yeah.
And the one thing I will say is it's not a film that actually has a lot of violence and gore and anything like that. So if you're going into it thinking it's this horror film, in that regard, it's not. It's more of a thriller. It's the tension in those moments. Not a lot of sick stuff happens until sort of the end of the film when everything ultimately, you know, goes the way horror films do. So I'll got to admit, I got to give it credit that for a film that's a lot of the time just a couple chatting and having this holiday together, it's just moments, these social moments of tension that you think, you know, they say something and it's like, oh, you know, like telling their kid how to like eat or little things like that. And you just, your whole time you're going, this is not social. This is against all the social construct that I've been told. And they're kind of thinking it, but they're too polite to say anything. And then it's just a terrific, dark, edge of your seat thriller.
Because I think those are the best kind of horror films. I way prefer those because I think a director that can take the mundane and turn those mundane interactions into really scary, horrific, that's actually so powerful. Because those are the moments that you're living every day. Do you know what I mean? Like those are I think that's such a more interesting and intriguing story necessarily rather than like, you know, all this crazy stuff happening. Because you can watch that and easily create almost like a disconnect. Whereas I feel like with a film like that, it's so much harder to do that because you see yourself in these situations and you're like, this could be anyone. It makes that thrilling aspect even more, I guess, thrilling, for like a better word.
The one thing I will say is I was kind of coming out of it and the first thing I said to Brie, who I saw it with, I was like, oh, when you go on holiday, you're one of those people that makes friends with people. Because the film is kind of from that where this couple sort of meet and then they kind of start engaging in this holiday together before they get invited back. I've thought, I don't think I'm like that on holiday. I think I like my own time. I was going to ask you, so what do you think? When you go away, what do you think?
Well, see, I have this thing because I know if I went solo traveling in a hostel, I would make zero friends. Like, not because I was like, I just feel like I would be like, I don't know. Especially on holidays because maybe it's my trust issues, but I'm like, I don't know you. Like, you know, but I think... I guess, like, it always used to bug me when I'd be, like, on a family trip and my parents would be like, oh, like, we're going to go with this family. And you're like, I don't even know this family.
Like, when you're a kid and they're like, oh, go play with this kid. You're like, I don't know that kid.
Yeah, it's a random kid. Oh, it was the worst. But, you know, actually now I'm getting older, I'd say I'd probably do it more. I would try to because I feel like we're getting to that age where it's like, you know, you travel and, like, naturally it happens.
Absolutely.
But I know for a fact that if I was in Speak No Evil, the film would be like 20 minutes. It would be them being like, come along. I'd be like, no, I'm good. And then roll credits. Like, that'd be it.
I don't know if I'd get there, but I think until the big stuff sort of happens, I think I would be like, oh, it's a bit odd, but you know what? Because I will say that James McAvoy has this very unique display of this toxic masculinity where he's sort of that, you know, he comes over and with his son, he's like grabbing and go, oh, like, you know, why are you throwing like that, mate? Like, you got to, you know, he's very like, you know, he'll grab the other dad and be like, come here, you, like, you know, mate, let's go grab a beer. You know what I mean? It's that kind of masculine energy. And I find that he plays that very well, but it's not something that you wouldn't have seen before.
No, it's so
and he
familiar.
toes that line of like, you're so sus of him, but is it enough to escape? Like, you're constantly having this kind of reversal.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the film does really well. And then ultimately when everything kicks off, you're like, oh, we're on now. You know what I mean? It's this... It just builds that up really well. So I got to admit, if you're interested in a new thriller, that's one I'd go see.
Yeah, horrors and thrillers, that's my jam. That's where it's my bread and butter. So I'll go check it out.
Awesome. Please do. Right. So I'll just run over some of the other ones that are out now. The Substance with Demi Moore, released yesterday, which is a film I saw at MIFF. Nice. Really great body horror. If you're interested in kind of it, but the one thing I will say is I actually got a text from Brie, works at the cinema, saying that people were throwing up in the cinema. It's that bad. I mean, it's body horror. It's body horror.
Oh, geez. Okay.
But I still thought it was one of the biggest surprises of the year so far for me. I really enjoyed it. But it is intense. So I say definitely don't go in if you're a bit queasy about seeing that stuff. Blood and things like that. Don't go in.
Yeah.
Because you may not have the best time with it. But if you are good with that stuff, you're going to see one of the more unique films I think I've ever seen that kind of just works.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. And then in other news, we have a lot of family-friendly films coming out. We have The Wild Robot, which has a really high rating on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. It's performing really well.
Oh my gosh. I have to say, I don't think I've seen a DreamWorks movie recently, you can correct me on this, that hasn't... I think DreamWorks is amazing. I don't think they miss.
Yeah.
You know, I think they have some of the best trilogies, you know, things like the Kung Fu Panda trilogy.
Oh yes.
How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes, How to Train Your Dragon.
Will always be like, if they're my 4 favorites on Letterboxd right there. Yeah. Like, that's it. Incredible. Shout out to the Prince of Egypt.
Prince of Egypt.
It's an incredible one.
Throwback one.
That's a throwback one. DreamWorks do not miss. And I saw the trailer for this and I was like, it looks beautiful.
And apparently it's doing really well. People are going to see it. And because it's kind of coming into that time where I believe we're getting into school holidays. So these are really starting to come out and that one's apparently a hit. Awesome. So that's great to hear. And Transformers 1 is also available in cinemas now, which is sort of the untold origin story of Optimus Prime and Megatron, which is one I'm kind of curious about because I didn't love the most recent Transformers film and I feel like they're going in a route that is kind of different from what it was. And, you know, I'm trying to get my head around this sort of very different family-friendly version.
I think, no one is really, like, what is, like, I think the Transformers blurst has never had, like, the chance to have that, like, a clear, do you know what I mean? Like, Michael Bay took it and then he did some stuff and then, like, and we're just like, and you know what I mean? And we're like, and then, like, you know, there was the new one and then they've tried making different, like, and there was, like, that Bumblebee.
Yeah, that was different, wasn't it?
Which was different and, like, wasn't bad, solid, but again, like... You know, nothing to like necessarily like memorable.
No.
I feel bad that it hasn't had like that chance to like.
Yep.
So who knows? Maybe this will be that, but.
I hope so.
I hope so because the cast looks amazing. It's like Chris Hemsworth. Reed Tyree Henry.
It's Ryan Tyree Henry. Yep, that's the one. I think he was in the Godzilla films, I believe.
I love that man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know him from Atlanta. Shout out Atlanta.
Yes.
And the Spider-Verse movies, which is a separate conversation, but. Yeah, so I'm excited to see that. Yeah,
Toby told me I needed to watch Atlanta because that's the Childish Gambino.
Which actually we might talk about later. But
awesome. Okay,
so
sounds good. Yeah. I would like to say a big thank you to Aaliyah for coming on the podcast. She will be back in the next episode for a really great discussion. I've decided to cut the episodes into 2, which is why Aaliyah is not here for the outro, but she will be back next time. I would like to say a big thank you to everyone for listening. Please follow the socials at @theclap_podcast and please leave a like and comment whether you are on YouTube or our podcast platforms. It would be a great help to us. Thank you so much for listening and we will see you on the next one. Cheers.